So the number one oil that you want to be picking for the heart chakra is rose essential oil. If you can't afford rose, or incidentally rose absolute, also excellent, but if you can't afford rose, and let's be honest, most of us can't usually, then geranium essential oil can be absolutely fantastic. There are areas where geranium would be better, and so we'll talk about that as we go. But on all levels of the heart chakra, rose, 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 rose. And it's not accidental that the rose is the universal symbol of love, and that this is the center of love, self-love, love for one's family, love for one's partner, love for one's children, love for the community at large, love of God. All of those things will come through this chakra. And incidentally, we will often talk about how energy flows up through the ground, up through the root chakra. So root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, brow, crown. But if you learn it from a tantric point of view, they say, yeah, that's right, but also coming down. So crown, information from God, from the greater universe, through the crown, through the brow chakra, through the third eye, through the throat, and down to the ground. But the two sets of energies meet at the heart, and so that we have this harmony of energies coming up from the earth and down from consciousness. And you know, this is a funny situation, because think about how as a community we have learnt to pray. So if you're Christian, everything, you're imagining him up there and it's all male energy coming down. If you're pagan, chances are you pull energy up from the earth, and it's probably female energy. So what we've got, if we can do both of those things, is harmony. But if we're only doing one and we're not really thinking about, okay, I've got to balance off, Tantra always says one thing has to be balanced by the other. So we're bringing energy up from the ground and down from consciousness. All of these meet at the heart. So obviously, if we are like reading consciousness all of the time, and the more that you work on your psychic abilities and your spiritual awareness, the more that you will read that. But we can't help but read it all of the time, because we have this onslaught from the media all of the time of saying there are these atrocities happening, there is this cruelty happening, there is this... I can't watch the telly without thinking I don't trust anything that I read in the media at all. I just don't trust anything. Doesn't care if it says BBC verified. Now trust is heart chakra, right? So as community in this time, this age, all of us are having actual attacks on our heart chakra at all times. So we need to be breathing and thinking about, right, actively thinking about breathing into this heart chakra and seeing it open and close, open and close, open and close, because otherwise all you're getting is this beating that's closing it, right, all of the time. So eventually it's going to lock. So rose is really good for doing that, but also the breathing, the two things together are really, really important. But if we just kind of, you might want to use some rose essential oil on your heart chakra, and I will talk about heart chakra massage at the end, incidentally. But you might want to anoint the area. You might want to use your aroma pendant to breathe it, or if you can afford it, put it in the bath. I sure of hell can't afford it, but I tend to put a drop of geranium into the bath almost every night, actually. And then I have like a lotion that I put onto my body, which is rose. So I soak up this healing medicine all through the night, and potentially that's might be why I have this lovely skin. I'm fully aware that I have good skin, and several people have commented on it, and I will say maybe it's all the rose oil, thinking about it. But what we want to be thinking about is, am I able to give, and am I give love and receive love? And how do I feel about love in the universe at the moment, or my personal universe? So that would be like in the family and what have you. So if it's shut down, we've talked about how it's open. I won't mention that again. Like, just like this complete flow of energy into the world, which is often correct for a carer, but it's really helpful to teach somebody. But also, let's close that down so that tomorrow you can do it again, but let's have elasticity so that we can open and close. It's not just this all outpouring. Likewise, you might have people who, I've got to save the planet. I mean, I said it in that voice. It's a real thing, right? You know, and I think I see it a lot in people who are sort of in their late 20s that have this. They're pained by how much they've got to do. They're panicked by their overall responsibility to do something to save the planet, and they are both right but also misguided that it's their personal mission, that the whole world relies on them. I also think that can be like a soul contract thing. We have been doing quite a lot of work with that in Sacred Dance and Blue Lotus. These priestesses, I think probably from my lineage of Demeter, who we were looking after the earth. I think that this raising of bee consciousness, the Melissa priestesses, is probably pouring through a lot of these young women, and probably men as well, of this absolute terror for Mother Earth. That feels like the same thing to me, and maybe that's like a soul consciousness thing. But I think that needs healing separately, but also to know that is being executed through the heart chakra, and that we can kind of close it down so it's they feel a bit less vulnerable and a bit less driven and panicked by this personal mission to save the planet. But also, so that would be open, and of course you can like see it spinning out through many different ways when you start thinking about how that would execute. But also the closed would be, well, I'm not doing it anymore. So maybe you've been in a relationship where somebody's really abused you, or you have been in a situation where somebody has betrayed you, or like I say, you just can't trust. You know, I can trust people in my day-to-day life, but I don't trust the media at all. So these things have many different facets, right? So I would say difficulty of giving and receiving love, but also maybe relational disconnection from your community. Actually, there's kind of another chakra that further out. So here's your heart chakra, but there's one that I call chakra 15 here, which is more of a communal aspect of love. That this is much further out. But remember how I said that the chakras kind of go out like that through your aura. So by very nature, what you've got is almost like a pyramid inside of a pyramid. So things that are going wrong on this like communal one can be executed through. So on a more like bigger scale, we can work specifically on chakra 15 if we need to, but actually working on this chakra also will work on that one. So like I say, this one's communal. So perhaps you have been ripped from your home country, or trafficked. You know, these seem like really strong extreme examples, and they are, but they are happening all over the world. So those problems we would see. But on a personal level, you'll see fear of intimacy and vulnerability, not trusting your family, grief. unresolved heartbreak. I mean, how many of us have kind of had heartbreak and just not processed? No, we've just had to keep going and going and going. And usually through the heart chakra, it probably is romantic love or maybe sexual love, but sexual love just as often will show up in the sacral chakra. And maybe it's familial love, but again, that might show up in the root chakra. And know that if one is over projecting out into the universe, another one will be under projecting. So, and vice versa. So if you have an underactive chakra and it's blocked, then another one's going, but I've got to work and do it. I've got to do it. So it will be open, right? So trying to get this balance is quite intricate. And we can certainly do it by doing the daily thing of, right, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to open this chakra and I'm going to open this chakra and I'm going to open that chakra. See your colors. Intention is the strongest power in the universe, right? So a lot of things that you can do will be done with your mind. You can back that up phenomenally with essential oils, but it's the intention in the mind that and the breathing that are the main keystones here. But just kind of seeing them in the right place and pouring energy into them in the right place and breathing into them into the right place, all really helpful. And I cannot stress enough that this work with chakras is very similar to aromatherapy generally, in that a little often is way more potent than doing one great big one and walking away and not doing it again. You're not going to make any difference doing it once. So do small amounts often. And I would say to do like a chakra meditation where we see the different lights in space at the right places, once or twice a day. If you can be doing some breath work with it, that is fantastic. For me, I work on my chakras 3 times a day. I do it in the morning, I do it in the at lunchtime, and I do it in the evening. And the reason for that is because it makes me feel better. I feel more vitalized. I feel like I'm having some control over my health, because I do have really bad lungs, and at the moment they're not 100%, so they need work, and they're not at the point that they need antibiotics. There's definitely sort of energetic stuff that I won't go into, and also allergy stuff that I won't go into. But I know that if I am working with my essential oils, calming down my nerves, working on that space and going, this is your vulnerability, sort out the vulnerability, then it is much better. So I am going to talk next about physical effects, but I will put the screen on now for you to screenshot your safety.